two, one. Welcome to Compounded, guys. Today we're going to talk about some interesting things we saw in the market and some interesting comments, some interesting ideas. We want to take it away?
Yeah, so the big news that has come out for the oil and gas industry has been the federal ban that the Biden administration has put on new drilling permits on federal land. And if you're familiar with oil and gas, only about 10 to 15% of all the oil that's produced in the US comes from federal land, and that's still a very big percentage. But Biden has essentially put a 60-day permit ban. So companies that want to drill in those lands that don't have a permit aren't going to be able to get one. And right now, who knows if this is going to be permanent or if it's just a 60-day ban. But one thing that's interesting that I thought about was Democrats have always caused higher oil prices, which in turn helps the oil companies. So, people, especially environmentalists, will say, oh my God, these oil companies are making so much money. But that's only because policies are in place that prevent, limit production, and ultimately that spikes prices. And a really good example, and you can see the chart here on the screen, the Obama administration had amazing oil prices. I mean, it was, I think, what ended in 2015, 2016, and started in 2008.
Yeah, so starting in January of 2009. So if you see over here, the second he takes the oath and gets sworn into the office, it shoots up,
No
And
joke.
it hits rock bottom with Bush, and then it shoots up, and then it's back. It's back in a couple of years, and then I think around the 2014, 2015 time, it took another hit.
You could see, right when Obama left, it dropped. Like when Trump took over, it dropped significantly, and we've had really low oil prices for the last 4 years. And that's because what's that?
So over here is when I think Trump took office.
That's right.
January. And then it picks it up, it goes over here, and then this is recently with the whole coronavirus pandemic, and then it just tanks. But if you see over here, again, this is not saying anything, this is not saying much, but it's just an interesting graph to see. Let's look at a 30-year horizon. I think 92.
It is explainable though, because for example, with Trump, he opened up all the lands for drilling. He made the Arctic even available, some Arctic areas available for drilling. Those don't really do anything, but he was pro oil and gas. He didn't want to ban drilling, but at the same time, he wanted lower oil prices, because when you deregulate the oil and gas industry, everyone can produce, everyone pumps money into the business, and production goes up, demand, is relatively the same, so oil prices crash. But anyways, just food for thought. What I think will happen with the Biden administration is they're going to start limiting drilling, and I think that's only going to help the oil and gas industry by giving them more money. I think really, if Biden wants to help the transition to renewables, he can't sink one boat to make another rise. He's gotta help the renewables take off more, right? Whether it's give more credit, whether it's invest more in them, and automatically it'll start a transition away from oil and gas. But yeah, just something interesting to think about.
So what do you mean by sink one boat? So if he helps the oil and gas by restricting drilling, for example, is that going to help the cleaner companies, the EV companies, and the renewable
Absolutely
companies?
not. If anything, so it's counterintuitive, but it actually makes overall world emissions worse when Biden bans oil and gas. And here's why. So right now, everyone in the US drives a certain amount, flies a certain amount. There's a certain amount of oil that we need to have to operate. Is that, the world runs on it. If we were right now to say we don't want to produce any oil and gas in the US, which compared to any other country in the world is way cleaner, way
Mm-hmm,
cleaner.
mm-hmm.
Our
Yeah, I
emissions are
completely
way
agree.
better than China, than Saudi Arabia. The oil they produce in Saudi Arabia is so dirty. But my point
Mm-hmm.
is, if we ban oil and gas right now in the U.S., say no one can produce oil, guess where we're going to get that from?
We're gonna get it from like other nations where they don't have, they have easy laws, and they don't have laws that are more environmental friendly.
Exactly. And not only that, but it's going to be way more expensive. You're going to have triple oil prices here. So consumers are going to pay more. You're going to hurt US jobs. You're going to increase emissions globally when, in my opinion, while I do agree that there needs to be a transition, the right approach needs to be helping renewables take off more, make it more competitive. Because at that
So,
point, yeah,
so it's essentially you're trying to say, um, instead of giving a harsh restrictions on the oil and gas for American companies, is to make it competitive by giving making it not too complicated for oil and gas companies, giving them the right amount of competition, right amount of laws, not too much but not too little, but at the same time giving the renewable companies a lot of tax credits so they can be competitive.
that's right. So if you give people credits to build solar panels, because right now solar panels are expensive, but if you basically give them for free, people start to buy them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And having more solar power available, people will automatically start leaving oil and gas. They'll start using less of it, and that automatically will drive prices down, and it will make production go down.
And it's kind of like the hype of the industry. You don't want to be, people don't want to be in the past. People don't want to be left behind. It's kind of like Tesla stock. It's priced in for like 2030's price target, like it's
Not even
overvalued.
2030.
It's like 2060, And I
Yeah,
tell people like, well, you should buy it now because in 5 years, it's going to be priced in for 2,500. So you better buy it now because it's going to shoot up. So it's the same thing with oil and gas and EVs, renewables, even if renewables are still like small, still, barely 1%. When it gains traction, people will start looking towards and looking forward towards it. And it
that's
has a
right.
lot of, and people will be, when do I leave oil and gas? When do I leave to
So,
that?
so you have to keep in mind the Biden administration has the power to persuade oil companies to also become renewable companies. And a good example is BP. So BP has been very aggressive. This is typically the European companies, right? The American companies like Exxon and Chevron, they're more conservative. They don't want to change from oil and gas. But if you look at BP, they said that by 2030, their oil production is going to go down by, I think, 50 to 60%. And they're going to
Mm-hmm.
start switching their business to renewables. And that's because Europe is a huge promoter for renewable energy compared to the US. So if the
Mm-hmm.
Biden administration starts doing that, then the big oil companies here will start becoming the biggest renewable companies themselves. And they'll start working with the Biden administration. So, we'll see where it goes,
It's
but it could go many
it's
ways.
do or die if they don't transition. It's kind of like they have a funeral date. These companies kind of have a funeral date, and it's kind of like, can we postpone our funeral date,
Well, here's the
by another
problem.
decade or
So,
two?
so you're right. They got to make a change at some point, but jumping in too early is also a death sentence. Like let's say right now, an oil company decided to just suddenly become a renewable company. They don't have any competitive advantage because they haven't been in the business. They don't know it very well. Um, Revenues would fall probably 80% because right now oil and gas makes much more money than renewable energy does. So if a company is willing to suffocate itself by going in too early, that's an option. That's why a lot of people are criticizing BP. They're worried that them saying they're going to lower oil production by 50% means they're going to wipe out 80% of their revenues by 2030. So it just
Yeah.
depends on what sort of credits the Biden administration gives, right? If they give really good credits, then it becomes profitable, then you'll see companies suddenly switch.
Mm-hmm. So it's just a difficult situation. Like, do I jump ship now or do I jump ship later, or when is the right time? And there's so many factors to look into. Yeah. Any closing statements?
I think we about covered it. It's I guess ultimately closing comments is, you know, while it might seem like Democrats are bad for oil and gas, they're actually good if you look at it in terms of how much money they make. Ironically, yeah.
All right. Thanks for tuning in. This is a Compound, guys, and we'll try to post us a couple videos a week. And we hope you find this entertaining. Again, it's entertainment only. And tune in anytime, comment, subscribe, and message us if you have any questions. Thank you.